我自己的表现的话，其实都还有蛮多可以改进的地方，因为每次打世界赛或是 MSI，就是都有遇到过，就是都有遇到比我强的人，所以我觉得自己还有很多可以进步的地方。就希望每一场比赛都能够发挥到很好吧，就是让大家都知道我很强。
Hello, League fans. I'm Daniel C. Fedrakos alongside Aiden Zyrene Moon and our special guest from Echo Fox, Froggen. Now, welcome, guys. Froggen, you're joining us, so it's no surprise that we're going to be going all in on the Maple versus Jensen matchup as they face off for Flash Wolves and Cloud9. Now, I want to take a look at a little bit of these guys' stats because I think it tells a lot about how they like to play the game. As we get a chance to bring it up, you're going to notice Jensen gets a ton of attention in the mid lane, and this is something that I think we saw pretty much across the season from the teams playing against Cloud9.
Yeah, Jensen was the most camped mid laner up there with Pobelter in the North American LCS, and he didn't get too much help himself, but near the end of the split, they did actually play a little bit more towards Jensen, gave him a little bit more help, and so he's actually doing a lot with the resources, because post 15 minutes, I believe he gets the most farm out of any other mid laner in terms of the percentage of a team's farm. So Cloud9 just funnel resources into him.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. He also the enemy also seems to pay a lot of attention to him, tries to shut him down early, but, you know, maybe take the opportunity to look at some of those fantastic plays that have got Jensen rolling. You can see those stats now, however, before we get into that, the opposing jungle proximity, meaning the amount of time that enemy junglers spend near Jensen, that's that 22.4. Maple gets a little bit less attention from the enemy, gets a little bit less attention from Karsa as well, interestingly enough, but Meteos, a man who is happy to come into that mid lane and camp it out. Now you can see him on your screen. Happy to have it. Froggen, I want to ask you about the experience of you've been a player that's been camped before in the competitive scene. How does that change the way that you play the game?
It doesn't necessarily change too much. I think for me it's mostly evolving around what the enemy champions are and what they have. Like if they have Jen and if they have Ashe, you can expect a bit more action around the mid lane, because when bot lane hits that level 6, they can push up a lane and then they can roam towards mid, maybe with Arrow or GNW, something like that. It changes the game a lot. Besides that, with getting camped, it's obviously important to have really good vision control, or maybe there's many opportunities for counter ganking. So, I mean, that's basically the major part you have to look out for when people tend to focus you.
So smart play can definitely kind of avoid a lot of the circumstances there, and of course you saw to see on your screen some of those highlight plays that came in from Jensen over the course of the summer season.
Yeah, and I actually want to ask you, Froggen, like, what's it like playing against Jensen? Is there anything that sticks out to you between him and Meteos?
I think playing against Cloud9 in general kind of feels like an ARAM, because they tend to have a lot of fights around mid lane, and that's also why people spend more time around mid in their games. So having that in mind, it's actually really annoying, because he plays really confident, so you never know if Meteor's there or if he's not there. So if he always plays the same way, it's very frustrating to play against, because you're like, is Meteor there? Is he not there? Like, is the bot lane roaming from bot to mid?
As interesting as Jensen
that's actually
is,
true.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to put all of our focus there. We have another mid laner, Maple, another man, the prodigal, a prodigy for many years. This guy's been showing up on the international stage. You get to take a chance to look at some of his sick plays. Now, we're pretty familiar with Jensen. We know a lot what to expect from him. What are your guys' thoughts on Maple?
Well, we talk about Jensen alongside Meteos. Maple and Karsa go together as well, and I think that they're actually a stronger jungle mid synergy duo in comparison, and they're actually probably one of the better ones in the tournament in terms of that regard, because the Flash Wolves, they really rely on them, and then they have really weak players on the side parts of the map, like NL and MMD. They're not up to the same type of caliber that Maple and Karsa are.
Interesting, of course, as we are now deep into picks and bans. Took a chance to break down those mid laner and already seeing some mid laners taken off the table. Let's just run through these. Zac, Gnar, Cassio, Nidalee, and Syndra on the side for Cloud9. Now, Syndra remaining a fixture in the pick ban, and Cassio showing up as well. With those two champions taken off the board, what do you think is going to be the best remaining mid pick?
The best remaining is maybe a bit hard to say right now. Not entirely sure what the priority is right now, but I think both mid laners has been playing a lot of Ryze, so we might finally see that champion.
Yeah, finally.
But besides that, I think Flash Wolves, when they hadn't banned Cassio, when they saw Syndra banned out, and they would probably have played Syndra into Cassiopeia if both were left open.
Yeah, I think right now, some people value the Vladimir very highly when Cassiopeia is off the table. So we might see a Vladimir come out for these teams as well. It is something that's kind of considered the safe pick into Syndra, and with her off the table, you know, there aren't too many things left that give him a hard time with Cassiopeia gone too. So I'm interested to see. I think that Cloud9, though, like speaking about this, I think that they do get the Elise here and have one of the best ganking junglers that's left right now.
We did see kind of some Lee Sin play come out. It wasn't necessarily the most exciting thing coming in from Meteos. He received a lot of criticism publicly for it. Additionally, the Zac taken away from him as well. Is hovering the Lee Sin now? This is actually some interesting priority. What are your thoughts on taking the Lee Sin over the Elise? What are the strengths there?
I do think it's very interesting, mainly because Meteos is more known to play Elise than to play Lee Sin. But obviously, this just means Meteos has been practicing a lot of Lee Sin. I mean, he needs to if he wants to pick it twice this early. And the Karma could be mid lane Karma. We have seen it banned out a lot. So we have 2 teams now that's been using it in mid lane, so it could be a mid lane pick. And that basically just sets it up to be a pretty boring pushing lane.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it works in bot lane too. Karma just pushes. And
that's not what I want to hear. That's not what I want to hear, man. I want 2 assassins. I want people trying to kill each other. I am tired of people just trying to push.
No. He's probably just going to go Elise. He's probably going to ruin all the fun and just go Elise. Like,
he likes to get our hopes up, but you see that grin on Maple's face.
But anyway, the Karma, if it does end up mid, I feel like a lot of people highly value getting Athenes as a rush and then having that where you can just pair up with one person and really just supercharge them. What are your thoughts on Karma and also like Karma builds? Because I feel like if you build her Athenes, she lacks that extra punch.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we have a lot of different variations of Karma where I think the most optimal is just go Morellonomicon, so you have a bunch of damage, and then go, if you really want to be the support Karma, just go Ardent Sense afterwards. It gives you 60 AP and 10% CDR, along with like better shields, so I think it's really valuable. Besides that, you have also seen support Karma go Athenes into Ardent Sense and just be completely support and keep the carries alive. But I think if Jensen is gonna play Karma, then we will see the Morellonomicon, because he tends to go for a bit more aggressive builds.
Now, with what Cloud9 have locked in so far, do you think this is likely to be the mid lane Karma, or are they just holding on to that last pick for mid lane to guarantee the counter pick?
You think you just counter pick? It's still flexed.
Yeah, it's not necessarily decided yet. Both support Karma and mid Karma could be really good here.
Yeah, no matter what, having a Karma in combination with the Kennen is really good. But I actually think that no matter what AD carry Flash Wolves pick right now, and it's probably Ezreal, maybe a Varus for NL, like this bully lane of having a Caitlyn and a Karma is super good. Like they just shove you in all day, they poke you underneath turret, and it's just a really good time. So I feel like the Karma should probably go to the bottom lane, and then you just pick something really strong in the mid lane for Jensen to play up against what looks like it's going to be a Varus here for Maple.
Yeah, interesting selection. We're going to have to see. 3 seconds left. Looks like he will be locking it in.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because Flash Wolves, they're running what used to be like the whole typical double AD carry composition where you have an AP damage top laner and you have a little bit of magic damage in the jungle, but they don't have a tank. They don't have anything that's really going to help them engage. They have 2 forms of soft engage with the Nami Wave and the Rumble Ultimate, and if they can actually make that work, maybe they follow up with a Varus and get some picks. But otherwise, I feel like this composition is very easy to roll over, especially with something like a Kennen mid-game.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but even the Varus ult feels like a lackluster initial engage. It's a very slow projectile, relatively hard to hit comparatively, so it feels like we're really relying...
It's not reliable, yeah.
Yeah, we're relying on that cocoon from Karsa.
I think that Flash Wolves doesn't actually ever have to engage, so they're more likely to use their abilities to disengage and just make C9 not fight you. So I don't think it's too much of a problem that they can't engage. They just need to siege up on towers, poke C9 down or poke them away from objectives, and then take the objectives. So, and that's kind of how poke team comps work. You don't necessarily always want to engage unless someone is split off. And if someone is split off, the Varus ultimate is actually really good engage because you can just pile onto that one guy.
Yeah, typically you don't need any form of engage. It helps you actually close the game out when you're a type of poke comp or when you're a double AD carry, and they like to just group up on turrets, but when you have a rumble, it just signals to me like team fighting mid-game and that you want to be able to get something from that. So I feel like that's their engage, is show up a little bit later to objectives and like poke you off of them or use the rumble ultimate to counter engage. Don't know how much Flash Wolves would actually be forcing anything because Cloud9 just have a lot of engage, but also it's counter engage too, and ways to disengage with the Karma.
Yeah, so more specifically for this mid lane matchup, I think that we're just... I mean, for the first few levels, you're probably gonna see farming. Orianna wants to hit Lost Chapter, which is kind of her power spike when she can be a bit more aggressive, spam her abilities, because she does use mana. And the same thing for Varus, he wants to get to the Tear of the Goddess. and really just stack up the tier, hit some power spikes, and then once Ezreal and Varus has the power spikes, you're more likely to see them group up on towers, and then Rumble maybe roams down and puts an ultimate down, and really just use all their abilities to force Cloud9 away from an objective, and then take the objective, and then kind of reset till they have all the ultimates again. For C9, I think that they can actually punish the Varus pick really easily because they have a Lee Sin. Lee Sin is one of the best junglers against Varus because he cannot take cleanse to escape the kick, and he needs to kind of preemptively just ultimate the Lee Sin whenever Lee Sin shows up. So that's a lot of pressure onto the Varus, and he needs to be really careful with that.
Yeah, and on the inverse side, Jensen takes the cleanse because he's up against the Elise and the Varus ultimate, so it's actually a really good summoner spell for him to take. I'm glad that he's taking it because some people haven't been taking it. And so Elise matchups.
Ambitious decisions, I think we can say, not opting to take the cleanse, but Jensen does take the safe route here.
Not taking cleanse sometimes versus Elise is okay if you're playing against a really strong laner, but that's more depending on your jungle and mid matchup, where I think C9 came out ahead in this draft, just only looking at mid and jungle, because they have the stronger jungler and they have the stronger mid laner, and it's really hard for Varus to do anything because of Orianna's cleanse. So she can just constantly keep up the pressure and play aggressive. If Elise ganks, you can use the shockwave to interrupt Varus' Q or just to like pull him away. So I feel like C9 actually has a really good 2v2 to pressure Flash Walls a lot.
Really pressure coming down here on the bottom side, but of course, if you're watching this, head on over to Twitter, tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtag AskTheCasters. You can get more insight as we start to move into this laning phase as Jensen returns home, and Maple wants to make his way into the mid lane after that early bit of initial poke. Looking at the mid lane, you talk about Orianna not having to play scared. I just want to look at the early trading in this lane. Who do you think really has the edge?
I think the early trading is pretty even, but Maple needs to kind of keep up with the Orianna poke. I think the Orianna poke is easier to hit while you're still pushing, whereas Varus, you need to decide either you're hitting the champion or you're going to hit the minions. But it's pretty even early on, and yeah, I think C9 should maybe just look to hit level 6 and then win from there. Since from most junglers I talk with, they think that Lee Sin just outright wins versus Elise at level 6 because he can one-shot her. And then you also have the kick opportunity onto Varus, so they're going to have a lot of kill potential.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag because it's kind of hard to actually hit her with the Q when she's running away, just because of the fact that her spiderlings and all that. But it's definitely, like, if you catch her, like, if you get the jump, she's done.
Yep.
Very scary place to be. Lee Sin, not as popular as he once was, but steadily making a name for himself on the world stage.
Oh, he's getting there, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a lot of flash kicks coming out. Sven Skaren showing off in some of those games in the last couple of days. Had a couple good Lee Sin performances. Meteos hasn't quite proven himself yet, but you can see Maple and Jensen already kind of fighting for control of the wave here, and it looks like Jensen actually going to start to take the push.
Yeah, this is another reason why Orianna wins those early trades, because she shields herself and gets the clockwork wind-up passive, but it's actually really good because I believe Maple, that was a... Is he on Deathfire Touch?
Someone got Thunderlords and someone got Deathfire Touch.
I think that was Orianna Deathfire Touch. Or sorry, Orianna Thunderlords.
We'll find out momentarily.
Yeah, it was Orianna Thunderlord. So yeah, he's running Deathfire Touch. I was like, what is going on?
One thing though is that Varus is an AD champion and Orianna is AP, so Varus naturally has more AD since he's gonna take AD runes. So just from auto attacking, they're gonna go pretty even. Varus is actually gonna win out because he has his extra passive from the W2, and Orianna only has the passive. So that's kind of like early game trades for Varus. It's good for him to also attack a lot.
Yeah, and especially since he has the corrupting potion as well. Right?
Yeah.
So he's just going to burn through her potions and have a little bit more to spare.
Yeah, that's another thing that's pretty good that you don't really see is that Jensen obviously buys 2 pots, whereas corrupting potion you can just keep refilling. So Jensen is kind of like losing out on gold every single time they take a trade just because of he's using his pots, so he needs to buy more when he bases next time. So I think it's beneficial for Maple to try to trade as much as possible. Another reason why it's beneficial to trade a lot is because he needs to get less gold, since tier is cheaper than Lost Chapter by 150 gold, so he can base earlier than Orianna, and that's very good for him.
Seems like a decent place to be. We did see Jensen take the blue buff from Meteos, one of the perks of those non-mana champions, but now a gank on the top side. This looks like it's going to be first blood, and that's some clean play.
I'm die.
Yeah.
No top die today.
No top
This is actually pretty good for Maple too, even if it doesn't directly impact him, because if Rumble can get the pressure in this lane matchup, then he can constantly push out and just roam down to mid and then put his ultimate down with Varus' ultimate, and that's a very strong combination where Jensen needs to use his cleanse and then maybe even needs to flash out depending on how good the Rumble ultimate is.
So Jensen's freezing the wave a tiny bit, but he's still gonna have to back anyway, because yeah.
Yeah, I think right here he just tried to make Varus stay. It's like if Varus doesn't
to try and
show,
break
then
a freeze, yeah.
Yeah, so like some mid laners will be like, okay, I need to push this out. I absolutely cannot base, but Mabel doesn't care because he has his power spike, and he's like, I need to base and just stack this up as fast as possible. And obviously Jensen needs to push out. If he doesn't push out, he will not have enough gold to buy Lost Chapter, and that's a huge disadvantage for him. So he needs to push out and base, and that's really good good play by Mabel to just finish the recall.
All right, so they just actually bought pink wards on their first back. Where do you think each of them should be placing their pink ward?
I think for Mabel, the problem with this is he can jump over so many walls, so he needs to kind of predict where Meteors will go and where he's coming from. But in the side of the river is usually pretty good, defensive behind the red buff. Like, so he doesn't walk into the Wraith camp and then kick you from behind. The problem with Lee Sin is that he comes from behind and kick you. If he does go from, if he goes from the side, then Varus can just ultimate and Lee Sin won't be behind him, and he won't be able to flash behind him because he's CC'd. So definitely just have to watch out for Lee Sin coming from behind.
Yeah, he's actually probably going to lose his pink ward in just a second here. Jensen will probably check that bottom bush. Yeah. Yeah. Saw him place it, and that's the thing is when you place your pink wards, you never want the enemy to see you do it, right? There's like top laners, don't walk into top lane, push it out, and then put it in that bush up there. Actually, just walk around the wall and not like where the top tier turret is, and like move to the side, put it in the bush over the wall, and then walk to lane. Like never show that you've placed a pink ward.
And this also depends a lot on the mid laner you are, because Mabel right now does not have pressure in the lane and Jensen has pressure. So he cannot take as much time away from mid lane as Jensen can, because he's just gonna be losing out. Right now you can see Jensen has a small experience advantage, so if Jensen wants to, he can play around his that experience advantage. So he can play whenever he's level 7, he just goes out and zone him out. He even does it now when it's level 6 to level 6. And there isn't a whole lot of things Mabel can do about it. Because if he opens with ultimate, it's just Elise can come with gank, but Jensen has cleanse, so nothing's really gonna happen there. He has his ultimate to drag Mabel back, so it's really hard for them to actually secure the pick onto Orianna.
And a lot of Oriannas will actually make this mistake of using the ball to clear the wave when you're in a one-on-one like this. You only do that when you know you need to push, because you can see what Jensen does is he positions the ball, he'll walk up, he'll throw it towards where Maple is, and he'll actually just use a dissonance, and then he'll just use the ball as a zoning tool, and then he auto-attacks to actually bring the minions down. A lot of people will spend too much mana, like trying to control the ball early to clear out the wave, and then you're pretty much all-inable, or like they can trade very heavily.
And luckily, Jensen was getting some of those blue buffs, but now it is Maple with the blue buff. Guys, I want to take a chance to look at some of the Twitter questions we've been getting. At the Slowbo asks, how important is mid-jungle synergy in this meta? He says that Meteos seems to provide attention bottom lane, less so than mid. Is this correct?
Yeah, that's actually 100% true. Meteos, when we looked at his regular season stats, top lane was his least camped lane, and it was one of the least camped in the entire league. Then that changed in playoffs when Impact just became a god. And then mid lane was his second most, but Sneaky got so much attention. I think that's just a part of their synergy, as Meteos and Sneaky get along so much and they communicate openly.
How much of those stats are from the lane swap meta? Because that might have had a huge difference.
We did standard lanes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
only
Standard
standard
lanes.
lanes?
Yeah,
Okay.
they do standard lanes between jungle proximity, just so everybody knows, is standard lanes from 3 minutes to 15 minutes. So it's just seeing where people spend their early game and like not leashing and stuff like that. It's actually a really cool stat that they finally came out with, and it was like, well, we have to explain it every time we do it.
I think this is one thing that Jensen does really well, is he's forcing Mabel to use his abilities to take the CS, and then if Mabel walks up to auto-attack, Jensen will try to actually harass him down, and that's why you see the CS difference. There's some other players that will just push no matter what, and they're like, oh, I'm winning, I'm always pushing guys, like this is awesome, and you don't really see a CS lead evolve. Whereas Jensen, he just like takes it slow, he doesn't really have to do anything. We saw some action in the top lane before on the minimap, and nothing happened. And Jensen just stays there, and it's like, he wants to get the small leads, and that's really good.
Yeah, and I like how he just throws the ball closest to Maple, just like that, and he stays near where the ball will retract, so he's not actually just pulling it back to him, but he's always making it so it's a threat to Maple. I actually want to answer the person's question because we got completely derailed about mid-jungle synergy and how important it is. I think it's actually incredibly important, not so much for the mid laner as much as it was before, but it's really important for the jungler because you have to be able to communicate when you need him to shove because you want to invade, or he needs to communicate with you that he's getting shoved in and your jungle is forfeit right now.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because we talked about Meteos potentially spending more time on the bottom side, but in the SKT game, that was not the case. There was 30% jungle proximity for Meteos in the mid lane over the course of that game, whereas only 4% of that went down to the bottom side of the map. So you can see, kind of as you mentioned, that mid jungle has been more important. Admittedly, that match was a little bit more one-sided in the mid lane department. Jensen was suffering a little bit, but it kind of does tell the story of the mid focus.
Yeah, there's a fight coming top. The TP came through from MMT, and it was a Australian lane. Everybody went for lane swap later.
And this is a mistake that C9 makes quite often, I would say.
Yeah.
Where C9, they're really good when they group around mid because they play around Jensen's back timings. But I think that Jensen has a problem playing around his own team's back timing. You saw before Jensen based, his team actually based 1 minute in advance, but he wasn't ready to base yet because he was about to finish his Morellonomicon. So whenever C9 tried to force this play, Jensen based and was like, guys, I have a big power spike, and then C9 tried to get out, but it was too late, and that's like, obviously we can't predict how the communication is, but there definitely is some communication difficulties in C9 when this kind of stuff happens because they just threw away their lead when you can see Jensen have like 20, 30 CS advantage in mid.
How frustrating is that for you when that happens?
I mean, it's depending on whose fault it is. I mean, it might as well have been Jensen's fault, but for not just basing. Like, if he had based early and not finishing Morellonomicon,
that's fine.
He would
like,
still have an
Maple
advantage
did.
in mid. He would still be able to punish the Varus, right? But he obviously wants his item, and then we can make the play. Yeah, so it's just a mindset issue, really.
Yeah, it's a communication thing, too, because Jensen, even just telling his team, hey, don't fight here, don't push up that far. And just another thing on top of it, like, Impact doesn't TP into that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, chunks him out. Sword Art's here, though, so Sword Art will probably give him a little bit of HP, and then the question becomes, does Maple stick around or not?
Yeah, I think you sometimes see this where, like, you'll just use Orianna ultimate, chunk someone out. There isn't really any way that Jensen can get this kill, because Maple still has his flash. So, I usually do not like this chunk, because what Jensen can do is literally just tell Meteos to go mid, and then Jensen is gonna ultimate, and they can set up a really free kill without them having to even use anything other than Orianna ultimate. Now it's just wasted. He chucks his corruption pot, and like it kind of just resets. And now Jensen is out of pots, so it's not necessarily too good of a trade, even though he won it really hard.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things that you just need to synergize with your jungler there, and as soon as you use that ability, a lot of your pressure is gone. For the rest of the map, like, hey, it's okay to fight it, hey, it's okay to have a team fight, Orianna ultimate is down. Like, Shockwave is a very important cooldown in these mid-game skirmishes that, like, it just opens a whole bunch of opportunities.
Yeah, and this seems to be a potential concern for Cloud9 because they are steadily starting to lose across the map. That 2K gold advantage approaching 3K for Flash Wolves.
Jensen's fine, though.
Jensen's doing good, and honestly, so is Impact as well. So what is the next step for Jensen? How does he get his team out of this rut? Is it using that Shockwave more for a team benefit?
For Orianna, you don't necessarily have the best roams, especially not when you get poked down by Varus, and you don't necessarily want to face check the Elise that's actually fed now. So I think that instead of, like, right now they should do the same as before. They need vision control around mid, so Varus cannot poke Orianna down, so they always know where he is, and he's not going to move anywhere. But also, so Flash Wolves doesn't all of a sudden rotate mid with Rumble and then just put pressure down on Jensen, right? Yeah. So he still needs to scale up a bit right now, and he's going to keep getting a CS advantage because he can take everything on the map. Like, he's very strong right now.
Yeah, and this is also an uncontestable second Infernal. And you can't contest this if you're Flash Wolves. If they did, they'd actually get obliterated because Impact has the TP advantage. Jensen has his Shockwave again. So that's just something that they can't go for. And C9 correctly identify that, sure, they're down 2,500 gold, but 2 Infernal Drakes does actually put you up there a little bit. I think that it's a little bit comparable.
When does that 16% AD and AP really start to be the break point?
Ooh, that was
Shockwave not going to connect.
That was not even close.
Hey, Observer,
the cheeky zoom in, the cheeky BM from the Observer there. But it seems to me like at a certain point in the game.
Yeah, let's get that replay, half motion.
Oh my God.
quarter motion.
Don't actually do that. I think Maple would, or Jensen would never forgive us.
Was Lee Sin around there? Because if Lee Sin wasn't around, there's no way he would be able to solo kill Maple. At most, he would maybe get his ghost.
Well, he's also, the thing I think Jensen isn't taking into account when he does that and it's not an all-in, is that the Corruption Potion still has 3 stacks on it. Like, he's just going to chug all 3 stacks of his Corruption Potion and be completely fine again. Like, you don't even buy any time. You just actually waste the cooldown.
Yeah,
I think this can also be a bit of nerves for Jensen. Mainly because it's like, he should, if he just wanted to chunk down Varus, he should have waited 1 minion wave because he was so close to leveling up that he would get the reduced cooldown from being level 11. There's no reason not to wait for that.
Yeah, he's also going to get blue buff too.
Yeah, so it's like he's going to have 30% CDR, he's going to be level 11, he's in a very good position, very good spot. So all he needs from his team is vision around mid. And usually you will see that actually Jensen swapped out to blue trinket really early, which is funny because I was talking a bit about how a lot of mid laners has been sitting on the yellow trinkets for a long time. I don't think it's right. And I think in this case you should be sitting on your yellow trinket because you can ward the mid lane. Usually what you do is you ward just in front of Varus tower, so obviously he cannot clean it, and then you see where the Varus poke is coming from and which lane he's rotating towards, so you can dodge the poke. And that's also something Meteors and Smoothie should be helping Jensen with. He needs wards around mid. So obviously right now the vision is okay, they know where everyone is on the map, and they're setting up for a dive in mid lane, which if they hit the shockwave, it's a pretty free kill. But Rumble is roaming down. So
this is 100% telegraphed. Like the way Jensen moved,
very wrong.
The way Jensen moved, that's 100% telegraphed. Maple knows. MMD already got called down.
Oh, Maple missed ulti.
Good sidestep on that ulti. MMD now getting aggressive as well. Meteos has to be careful. And
yeah, that was
close.
The way that Jensen played up there and actually went into the fog of war of the turret and was so far up and clearing out that minion wave. He's never done that this game. And that's just a shift in behavior, and Maple was like, he's got people nearby, right? When he played differently.
For playing that far, but I don't necessarily think it's bad. If Jensen can force Maple away from the tower, it's really good.
Oh, Nami.
Good
And
damage.
he's got no mana. Sorry, you were saying?
I don't necessarily think it's bad that he's playing so far up. He just needs to be aware of who can be there so they don't die. Like right there, Meteor, if Maple landed that one ultimate, Meteors would have died. Like MMD would have been able to just protobelt Meteors and like he would pretty much die from it. You saw how low he got. So with 1 second more CC, that he would probably have died. And that's what they should be looking out for whenever they're setting up a dive like that.
It's kind of interesting, too, as we start to move forward. Jensen still seems to have control of this mid lane, but Cloud9 almost seem desperate to kind of extend the advantage that they've built up here. And Flash Wolves, you mentioned kind of telegraphing the play there. Jensen hadn't been getting aggressive, suddenly showing his hand. Frog, and I want to ask you about that. Is acting a thing in mid lane? Do you have to kind of be very aware of how you're playing and not changing your playstyle when that jungler shows up?
Yeah, but then again, I don't think there's a whole lot of different things Jensen could do to really
chain connects.
Yeah, exactly why he took the cleanse.
Yeah, it's pretty good, but still the problem with Flash Wolves composition, or not, the problem for C9 right now is that if Flash Wolves, they have their power spike and they can just group up mid and kind of poke C9 down. Or Israel is about to finish his man immune, and I assume Varus. Actually, Varus poke is already pretty strong, so they can just group up mid and just start poking down C9. They already have enough CDR on the champions.
Yeah, we're actually seeing a lot of Ezreals in this tournament, to just swap to that for a second. Go for tier and pick up a cull, and then they just play on the back foot. And now they're getting gifted kills as well on top of it. This means he's so far ahead. I would actually say he's probably about 1,000 gold ahead right now.
Yeah.
He's 2,000.
What
I was underestimating.
Like, it's this is pretty telegraphed from Flash Wolves combos. They need to group and siege with the Rumble ultimate, Ezreal ulti, Varus ulti, and these kind of things. Rumble just used ultimate to hold top, so they don't have too great of a siege, but otherwise they would be able to.
Ooh, impact.
Top die.
That's really good from Impact to stop that siege. This kind of delays the siege. If Rumble would be there with ultimate and be alive, all Maple will have to do is ultimate someone, and that person dies because they just Rumble ulti on top of it. Then the Ezreal poke, they have really, really good chain CC, and this is one of the best power spikes they will actually get in the game. You're just constantly gonna see them group up and poke people away from the towers now. I've played a lot of these poke counts, and it's one of the most frustrating things to play against because you feel like you can't do a lot.
Yeah, poke comps are really interesting because they're very frustrating to play against when they're played well, but when they aren't played well, they're just completely rolled over by people who engage. And engaging is seriously like really easy in League of Legends, like team fighting and engaging. Like if you like if there's somebody out there who's gonna go play in a 5v5 tournament, just play an engage comp. Like it's the easiest thing that you could possibly do.
It's so easy to run.
Yeah.
At any point in the
Poke,
game,
though,
even if
complete
you're
opposite.
like 5k gold behind, you hit one wombo combo, you win the game. Poke, you have to do so much, warding those flanks, trying to play safe, but it is working out for the Flash Wolves overall.
You have also seen the Jensen pulled ahead early on in the laning phase because he just like outpoked Mabel. He just played it better, I guess. And then once Mabel hits his level 9, gets blue buff and gets a few levels, Mabel will stay even in CS because all of his abilities can just make sure he gets every single CS. So at most he will lose 1 CS per minion wave and he just stays even. So it's actually pretty good for Varus in this position. And they keep giving up all these dragons.
That was close. That was a 43.
Yeah.
Yeah, super close.
I also think another interesting thing in this game is that we're gonna really see if Meteors is good enough to play this Lee Sin pick, because he needs to kind of be the one that's kicking Mabel into the team, maybe kicking Rumble into the team, finding those flanks, because that's the engage that C9 needs. And they also need impact to maybe TP from the side or go from the side. You saw him catch out the Rumble, which delayed Flash Wolves a bit, which is really, really good. So that's the kind of thing C9 should be looking at right now. And I don't think Orianna is in a great position to actually do something about what Flash Wolves is going to do.
Now we see Jensen consistently going mid. This gives us a good chance to get another Twitter question. At babygirl_5464 asks, is mid lane roaming a requirement, and when is it good to roam?
Not always. It really depends on the champion. And if you get an advantage, then definitely push through the mid lane first and then roam. Because people have different mentality. Like if you're playing Zed, it's like, is it better to just slaughter my lane over and over again, or is it better to roam? I feel like you have to do the first one for a little bit and then just go and roam elsewhere. Because you made one person useless, and you can't always rely on your bottom lane or your top lane to play as well as you did. So just help them out. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, for competitive, it's really what the team wants to do. Like Varus and Orianna is not the greatest roaming champions, but earlier in the game, we saw a bit of a lane swap where the bot lanes ended up on top, and they were kind of fighting, pushing for the towers. That's a situation where Jensen did have the pressure, so he could try to roam up there and maybe make something happen. It's all about looking for the opportunities, and then you do sacrifice a bit of lane pressure, but sometimes it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, Maple did it once this game and ended up with an assist.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
This is what we like to call the bait pink ward. This is the one where
They're all in the bush.
If you're 50 minutes into the game and ranked, don't go hit that pink ward. It's a trap.
Yeah.
It's 20 minutes into the game, we can call it a mistake.
But you see these wards right here? These are actually wards that allow him to stay off on the side and just shoot arrows like that from Fog of War and know where Jensen is. Kind of well placed there. They're trying to chunk him out.
That's also one thing. C9 still does not have a ward in mid lane, so Jensen has the hardest time dodging out on these abilities. It matters less because the mid tower is down, so he can't just stay back if he wants to. And they also have 3 dragons, so I guess they shouldn't be too concerned about maybe giving up a dragon or 2 to the poke comp, but
yeah, they gave up 3, and the 3rd Infernal is on the way. I actually don't know if they get this 3rd Infernal based off of tower, because Flash Wolves, they'd be happy to fight you there. But it really comes down to the team fight. So I wonder what Flash Wolves are thinking when it comes to this next dragon.
I want to look at both of these mid laners and talk a little bit about scaling. Varus still stacking up that tier. Orianna, I mean, a lot of flexibility in where she can go with this build. What is the fall-off point for each of these champions, or when are they strongest in the game?
The 2 champions scale a bit differently, and it also depends a bit on the AD carries. Like, what's called Orianna obviously is going to keep stacking up AP, but Varus is going to do the same, just with poke. So Varus' plan in the game is not really going to change. He's going to attack whoever he can, and Orianna should look to get the ball into the backline and maybe one-shot someone. So he needs to really be stacking up a lot of AP. Where Varus can go for a bit more defensive build, and he will always be able to poke.
Oh, that's a quick pop down.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's good.
That's a great layer.
Nice little pickup.
One important thing for the scaling is if C9 actually had any champions that could heal the teammates effectively, Varus would drop off considerably, because it's just his poke is not really valuable.
Oh, that goes wide.
Another
Wave not
ultimate.
going to connect.
Nice
Kick goes in.
That's
There's
a
the
good
play from
fast pick.
Meteos.
He's got the Q still on him.
He's not gonna go for it.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, that's good. That's exactly what Meteor should be looking for. Try to actually kill Maple.
Yeah, he got both of his summoner spells. Jensen has both of his still. Like, definite advantage now in the mid lane.
I do think maybe Jensen could have like played it a bit more aggressively or be ready for the Lee Sin kick.
With the shockwave and stuff, yeah.
Because Varus just made it to the wall and flashed over, and that takes a while, especially when you have the communication to know that the kick is coming. But yeah, since there's no heal on C9, Varus never really drops off. In late game, his arrows are gonna hit for at least 600, if not more. And all of C9's team comp is really squishy, and they're not champions that really stacks armor. So Varus is just gonna really penetrate everyone on C9. Maybe only Lee Sin is gonna get a bit tanky, as you see. He just finished his range and Soman. Yeah. So he never really drops off, and Orianna is like... she's way harder to play because Flash Wolves has long-range abilities that they can just play around Orianna. Where Orianna, she needs to walk up, be close to her ball so she can put it even further into the backline. And if she's that far up, she has the opportunity to get hit by Bubbles, by Poke, by Elise Cocoon, by Rumble Ease. It's a lot of CC and slows onto Flash Wolves, and it's hard for Jensen to play this mid and late game out.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be really interesting is this next Drake, Infernal, is up in 40 seconds. Maple's not going to have either summoner spell for that, so the low mobility Varus is incredibly susceptible right now, as well as the Rumble. They both don't have any summoner spells, so Jensen, like, he should be able to land a shockwave in this if it is contested. Like, there's actually no excuse if he misses it.
NL throwing out these true shot barrages time and time again, trying to steal anything and everything he can. So far, it's just been a kill, although he has attempted the blue and the dragon. Now, Zion, you talk about the theoretical setup for C9 here should be good if they can fight over this dragon. They have the tools. The flash is down from Maple, both sums, in fact. He gets in trouble. He's going to make it out. But they have a pretty decent gold lead on the side of Flash Wolves. Is this not enough for them to just pull out the edge in the fight?
Right now, they're concerned about Maple not having flash up, and then C9 obviously having flash on Cannon, and he's already there for the fight, so they need to really protect him, and they don't have the best comp for really protecting him if they flash onto Maple. So
Oh, Jensen.
Oh,
He's going to get shot.
Oh, arrow.
Flash for flash.
Wave goes
This
over
is
the
really
wall.
good for Flash Wolves.
That's exactly what they needed, is that poke.
Sneaky
They don't
snare
actually
catch.
have to finish Dragon here. They should just let it reset and poke C9 down. They know Jensen is low enough, so if they, like now,
Rumble's going to go mid.
Meteos went in. Nice
We
predict
just
from
did not
Maple.
get it, but I think this is very risky from Flash Wolves. They could just stay around, poke C9 down, and not make it a 50-50 smite.
And they still got the mid wave as well.
Yeah.
Like, they got so much off of that.
They're in a really good position. Also, Caitlyn does not have Bloodthirst yet.
Kennan's actually looking for the ultimate here. He's going to try to become
the impact. There's impact on the side.
He's got exhausted right away. Really good follow-up with Shockwave.
Yeah, that's the most annoying thing in the world is when you get exhausted by Kennen, or Kennen gets exhausted.
This is exactly what Flash Wolves has to look out for. Like, the only way they lose is if Meteor's Impact really flanks them like that. And even this wasn't too bad for Flash Wolves. Like they got the Cannon Flash, which is obviously an important engage ability for C9, so it's not too bad.
Still, Meteos, of course, got taken down as well in the end, so it's really just that 1-for-1 plus the Dragon going over in the favor of Flash Wolves. That seems like a good trade. It looked really bad. We'll take a look at that replay one more time. This looks so bad when Kennen finds the flank, but it really just seems to work out.
Yeah, it's really good. And, like, that actually would have been a kill, possibly multiple ones, because he may have not gotten CC'd afterwards if he had just killed everybody. I am interested in seeing how Jensen got caught, though, in the previous fight. I would actually really
I
really
think
like
that
to see
might have been a Varus ulti or something like that.
It's either a Cocoon or a Varus ulti, but the next one does follow up.
It was the Cocoon at the start, followed by the immediate follow-up from NL over the wall. So that in the previous fight, they just leapt right over those Caitlyn traps to get that pick going.
Jensen kind of disrespected that since he did have his cleanse up. Like, he could have cleansed and just ran away and maybe not have to flash, and then C9 could have taken the team fight, maybe.
I think
had a better chance at the Dragon. But yeah, I think Flash Wolves, they just have to watch out for the straight-up engages, and they don't need to finish the...
Yeah.
Just gets aggressive, tries to trade with Carson.
Okay, so he didn't actually get Chain of Corruption there, but that's actually, you should probably cleanse that right away because it's in the middle of the fight, and that's the Cocoon, and then you just finish the Dragon off, knowing that at least won't have Cocoon by the time you kill it. And you just have to watch out for the Chain of Corruption, but if you get a Chain of Corruption, you probably set up your ball.
I think right now, in this game, it's probably going to be up to Sneaky to really carry this game because he needs to finish his Bloodthirster.
Oh, he's so far behind, though.
Yep.
A lot of damage. I mean, Flash Wolves are really aggressive coming into these fights, but Cloud9 are doing good to kind of get out of the area.
Yeah.
What Flash Wolves is trying to do is just follow up on each other's CC, and it's working out really well right now. But yeah, I think C9 in this game, Jensen should be looking to kind of support Sneaky, even if it sounds really weird for Orianna to kind of play more of a support role. The problem is if she walks up, she's going to get destroyed by the CC and the poke right now, and she's not strong enough. For Sneaky, if he does get Bloodthirster, the poke is not going to matter too much for him, and they can just stack shields from Karma and Orianna and Lee Sin on top of Sneaky, which would be really good.
This is actually a really good read from Cloud9, because Flash Wolves, all they want to do, they don't actually want to do the Baron, they wanted to bait them close enough to poke them out so that they could get the Baron afterwards. But mid lane, Sneaky found a push, Smoothie actually dodged the cocoon, and even on top of that, like Impact pushed that bottom wave out. Guy's up 70 CS right now, and he's already level 16, so I feel like this is like, that's actually a really good situation for Cloud9. They actually closed a little bit of that gold gap just slightly.
And things do appear to be going relatively well. Jensen with the 3 items, the Morellonomicon, the Void Staff, and the Rylai's. On the opposite side, Vara's still working towards that Mana Mute.
I actually don't like the last Whisper buy here, because how much armor is there on the other team? There's 1 armor item. 2, I guess counting Zhonya's, out of everybody. I hate last Whisper buys like this because it's only bonus penetration. Like,
yeah, I don't think it's very
awful,
good.
actually.
He could have finished, or maybe tried to finish his Mana Mune, which is almost fully stacked right now. Like, it's 30 minutes into the game. You should probably finish it. Like it's a good idea.
Like at that point, you can get your Mana Moon, start going towards that, or you even get another serrated Dirk and start going towards Dusk or something like that.
This is something I've seen from a lot of the mid laners, is they kind of go autopilot on their builds, and no matter if they're behind or ahead, they will just build the same items they do in every game, regardless of how the game really plays out. So that's, I hope they can adapt to that later on.
Yeah, maybe a questionable build choice is at 700 stacks on that tier and counting as well, so he would be very close to that massive power spike because he would get the transformation.
Yeah.
Have to see if that kind of counts against him in any coming fights, but for now, Maple relatively safe to just keep poking. And Flash Wolves kind of setting up control on the bottom side of the map. I mean, this is like the standard poke comp. Are we just going to see the long, slow sieges coming in here from Flash Wolves?
Yeah. Another reason why he might have wanted the last Whisper, and why it makes a bit more sense, is that Meteos is the guy that needs to be playing up for C9 and needs to be getting the Orianna shields and the Karma shields, because they have no one else that can walk up right now. They need to wait for Sneaky to get sustained before he can walk up. Jensen can't walk up because he's going to get chunked out. So if Meteos stacks armor and shield him and let him walk up, because he does have the flash kick, that's a risk for Flash Wolves and they need to watch out for.
TP flank. Just to call it, sorry.
Yeah.
This is actually...
Impact does have Flash if he wants to go for it.
Yeah.
This is really good disengage by Flash Wolves.
Flash Wolves are going to go towards
They need to delay the fight as much as possible and then just try to poke C9 down whenever they come. I do think Flash Wolves is in a good position to take a fight here. They have a really good spot for the Rumble ulti, for the Varus ulti, just in general for all their poke.
They have pings going down
Kennen got
the
in.
flank.
Impact got in. This is actually really dangerous.
This is okay. Flash Wolves just need to stick together.
He ulti flash onto them.
Yeah.
Oh, he got bubbled. He didn't do it.
Great bubble from Sword Art. Good disengage there. This looks devastating for Cloud9.
That was the fight right there, that bubble.
This is good. All they need to do is just keep disengaging and they don't ever have to fight. They can just poke them down. C9 has no sustain. And that's why I think he went for the last Whisper, is because they know Meteos is going to be the one walking far up, so he's going to hit Meteos more than the rest of C9, and he just wants to make sure that he can actually chunk Meteos out so he cannot do anything.
I'm more okay with it from NL, because you only hit one person with your Q, but the fact that you have pass-through damage on your Q as Varus, that's why I don't 100% agree with it. I think that there's more things that you could invest in and have a better time with, but I can definitely see that.
Will be interesting, of course, as he has now finished some major items, both Ezreal and the Varus with the Muramana. Maybe we're going to grab the quick blue buff here, but he could be in trouble, honestly. Cloud9 getting aggressive here in the jungle, trying to throw down some vision.
Elise also finished her Render and Soman, so she's a bit more tanky if they actually want to start Baron. Let's see, Meteos might be caught out here.
Ooh, nice cocoon coming in from Karsa.
No flash from Meteos, that's huge.
No playmaking, no kickback.
Oh, that's not who you want to kick into the team, though.
I think MMD wanted to actually Q there before he's done yet. I'm not sure.
So this is like a big problem of Lee Sin actually getting caught out. If he doesn't have his flash, there's no way he's gonna kick Mabel into the enemy team. Like, Meteos is gonna get CC'd and he's gonna have a really bad time trying to find someone.
Impact is actually looking for a kill here, bottom.
It's getting aggressive.
Yeah.
Decent damage comes in, though. And it's just getting harder and harder to find those solo kills as the gold lead starts to grow here. 5K. Flashwolves getting some dragons of their own as well. Elder and Baron left on the table.
Michus actually got the sustain now, so that's really good. He can walk up a bit more with Karma and Orianna's shield, and this is when C9 can start getting a bit more pressure back into the game on the back of Sneaky.
You see Jensen, of course, continuing to stack up the items. Is he still just looking for that combo? Because Sneaky definitely not
He
looking
does
to
lose
keep
half his
taking arrows.
HP, but look at how much he's going to sustain on the next minion wave, and that's why the Orianna ball and Karma shield is constantly on Sneaky. So Varus cannot walk too far up, because Sneaky is just going to have the extra range. He actually cannot. Ooh, Jensen is taking that.
So
At least you have the sustain from red buff.
Yeah.
The AD carry life.
is this pretty much all about just mitigating
wait,
Varus'
bottom
ability to
though.
poke?
Yeah, this is about C9 getting pressure back into the game, and they need people that can walk up. So Impact needs to look for the flanks. That's what he can do in this game. Meteors needs to be looking for the kicks onto Varus, but it's hard while he doesn't have flash. Sneaky can walk up too, because he has QSS to cleanse the Varus ulti or the Elise Cocoon, so he's actually not in a lot of trouble versus his Flash Wolves team comp. Like we talked about how Flash Wolves doesn't really have any real engage, so that really allows Sneaky to walk far up. And if they do choose to fight Sneaky, well then C9 probably have a better straight up team fight comp with Orianna.
Seems like a good situation to be in, but they just cannot find the setup necessary, and Flash Wolves are just continuously baiting these bushes.
Yeah, I think Flash Wolves, they have all the tier 2 towers, so they should try to get more vision up, like in the jungle, on the lanes, so Mabel can constantly poke. Right now you have no wards on the mid lane itself when you have tier 2 down, and I don't think that's very good. You need the wards so you can constantly poke them down. If you're not constantly poking them down, well, C9 is just scaling, and for them to scale with the Caitlyn is really good for them right now.
That solid spot to be, of course, doesn't always have to be all about Jensen. Orianna with the shield will continue to grow later in the game. Meteos getting caught again. Does have to burn the kick there as well. Has completed the GA though, so does have one get out of jail free card in the coming fights. I mean, kind of a scary point to be at for Cloud9. It seems like Flash Wolves just setting up around the Baron, looking for picks as well to try to secure it overall. And unfortunately, it seems like less of the Jensen story for Cloud9 as we move forward, and them just trying to figure out how to survive as a team.
I mean, Jensen is very important for Cloud9, and he needs to execute his job, but he needs to, I think it's more about following up for him than making the big shockwave. Yeah, that's why I have way more emphasis on C9 trying to do stuff that enables Jensen to really do stuff in this game. Right now he hasn't been able to do anything at all except for pressure him in the laning phase. So
it's almost gone too. It's just 30 CS difference, whereas I think Impact, a lot of this game relies on him and Meteos, like you said, for the playmaking. Like if they can get in, they can actually get a good engage. I feel like Jensen's follow-up could just destroy the entire team if he's able to get it. Like that's the thing that they're looking out for.
Also, one important thing is that Mabel chose to go for the Dominix Regard, so not the reduced life
Mortal
steal.
Reminder, yeah.
Yeah. So he should have. I personally think he should have tried to reduce how much Sneaky is gonna heal in this game, as we're probably gonna see a
MMD's Dunzo.
Yep.
Here comes the Nami wave though.
That shield.
Sword art putting on a
He's dead,
show.
though. One more auto.
It's gonna get him. It's the 1-for-1.
This is not worth for Flash Wolves. They used the exhaust and the flash on Nami.
Oh, suddenly Meteos is in the middle of the
Karsa
team.
Up.
Oh, there's some Jensen stats. We don't need those because we're gonna watch this.
This is really good job.
Ball delivery service comes through. Maple throws down a bit of poke.
No flash. Okay. Yeah, C9 can probably not do Baron because they can get poked out. But yeah.
I mean, just a sudden explosion of aggression there. Finally, we see the ball delivered for Jensen, so he's able to make a little bit of an impact overall. But is this going to be one of the issues as they move forward for this Orianna pick? Is they just don't have a good way to get it in there?
They just need MMD to stop intentionally feeding right now. Like stop, like literally stop going bot to Impact. You have died most of the time, so gotten out with just a sliver of HP. There's no reason to be there. Like, just be there when the minion wave is at the tower. You're not gonna get dove. You have Hourglass and everything else. Like, just stop. Just let Maple and NL just poke out C9 and kind of win the game from there. Because right now, C9 is coming back into the game, even though the gold lead stays the same, just because they keep getting more and more sustain. They get a bit more armor, a bit more items. Like, it's getting harder and harder for Flash Wolves to poke C9 down. So, and they also lose a lot of pressure in the game, even though they wasted the cannon flash. So,
well, now they're taking the initiative to go onto this Baron. I think we got to keep our eyes on that Orianna ball.
If they have a deep ward that the TP from Impact can come through on, then it's definitely good for them.
it's interesting that they force it and choose to run away.
I think they're waiting for Impact to push up more.
Yeah, but then you shouldn't start it in the first place.
Yeah.
I would look for Cloud9 the second they start Baron and you see Flash Wolves come. You need to, like, we're gonna engage right now and then make it happen. Like, have a plan if you start Baron, else you're gonna get poked down, you might need to base, and then Flash Wolves actually has a pretty fast Baron. They have a Mountain Dragon and an Infernal Dragon.
That sneaky flash.
No flash.
Good that they got the flash, but burn both ults. Impact is still pressuring on the bottom side as well.
Yeah,
This could be disastrous.
The good thing for Flash Wolves is that they can waste the ultis like that and just wait for them to come up again at this point in the game because they have this amount of poke.
Looks like we are going to be in a little bit of a base race. They're just going to
Meteos is
burn
trying to come
down
from
this
behind.
mid.
He's going to have to place a ward, though, for Impact if they want to even make a play.
This is going to be really difficult to,
Yeah, this is weird.
to do.
Now Impact is left uncontested to push in the bottom lane inhibitor tower.
Well,
Flash Wolves moving down.
If they go to Impact, though, they go to Baron.
Yeah, MMD should have been bot to hold the bot lane tower for sure. Like, there's no reason not to hold that tower. Like, he doesn't need to fight Impact, just hold the tower.
Yeah,
And then he can join in.
And Cloud9 come out on top in the trade in the end. It's a 2-for-1 tower trade. It looked really bad there for a second, but Impact just keeps up the pressure.
Yeah, he's really saving this game. And I think his last item should be a Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Because as Kennen, once you have enough cooldown reduction, your W, you can actually just keep using your W over and over again. Its cooldown is shorter than the duration. So people can't get away from you. They legitimately can't get away from the Kennen. And if that's what he goes for, I feel like it helps him stick and stop Maple and NL and like MMD from getting away once he engages.
I think he should go for Death Cap instead of Rylai's because they already have 2 Infernal Dragons and he has racked. It's his last item,
that's actually
so
a really
he has
good point,
racked up a lot of AP already. So if he goes for Death Cap, he is actually gonna one-shot every one of Flash Wolves. So
yeah, that's a good point.
I think he is gonna go for the Death Cap.
I like that our choice here at this point for Impact is between one-shotting people and between inevitably killing them with multiple shots.
Whenever I actually play Kennen, I really like second item Rylai's, like most mid laners. But in Magic matchups like this, where you want the Abyssal Scepter, then you go ahead and you get that. Flash Wolves, though, they start this up. This is really good. Jensen's on the other side of the map.
Close.
What is he doing?
They have wards in mid lane. They know he's not close.
He's clearing a pink, yeah.
So you want to be, there's the engage option. Meteos chain CC'd, isn't going to get it. No peanut moment
They
for
need to get
Meteos.
out of the pit. They need to get out of the pit for Kennen.
Yeah, he can't get in
Going
there.
back.
Wait, why'd they go back in? For the GA?
Yeah, for the GA. It's okay since
Yeah.
C9 didn't really commit, but it would have been nasty if they had to team fight an Orianna Kennen inside the pit.
I don't know why Jensen continued to clear that ward. I feel like you just walk over it and run. Like that.
Yeah, I don't know if that was... I guess it was a pink ward. He was stuck there for a while.
It's 4 seconds of his time.
Maybe Jensen a little bit frustrated with having to play the game so slow despite
That's
being
what
so far
That's
ahead.
what you need to respect. You can't just go to blue buff. That's what I was talking about earlier. Get wards on the mid lane so you know where people is going so you can constantly poke them down. And that's basically what gave them a free Baron, is that they know where C9 is.
I also think this is wrong from Impact because he doesn't have teleport anymore. Like, I don't think you can actually match the Rumble. Even if you kill him, they force 5v3 down mid. You need to wait for Meteos to come back up. And maybe you get the inhib if you kill Rumble. But
I think he's going to have a hard time killing Rumble, right?
yeah, the guy went for
Just
Bane's
Bane's
Veil.
yeah.
It's like, whew.
This is an opportunity, though, for Cloud9. We talked about them not wanting to group in the Baron pit, and the Elder Dragon pit is no different. But it seems to me if Flash Wolves get this, it could be the last shot for Cloud9. But they're too far away. They're gonna be
Okay,
too
so
slow.
I think what C9 is thinking right here is that Kennen has his flash up, and they're gonna wait for him to get his Death Cap. He's stacking up gold right now and needs about 300 more gold. Actually, 250 more gold now. Before he has his Death Cap, and then when he has Death Cap, they're gonna try to actually team fight them and try to get a good engage. So we're gonna have Smoothie and Meteos try to get a good. Actually, no good TP wars because he doesn't have TP.
Yeah.
So it's up to Impact himself. Needs to show he's a world champion.
all in on Impact.
Yeah.
For the final fight, Jensen maybe
Pretty
looking to help
much.
out as well.
They can combo it really well with the Orianna ball getting onto Kennen maybe.
He got it.
Or
He got it. He's
shield.
rushing down.
Yeah.
have to see. Flash Wolves are kind of grouping up, but they're giving a lot of respect over to Impact. I don't know if they're going to give him the chance.
Yeah, they just need to constantly just poke down C9. They just need to wait for some poke to land. Eno can walk up and hit the inhibitor because he has flash and he has his E to get away.
I feel like if you're Impact,
That's a lot of...
is a late one too. I feel like if you're Impact, you actually walk out of top lane and you just go through the top jungle. I know he can't know if it's warded or not, but
Yeah.
Actually, cool. Question for you. If you're Impact right now, do you actually swap for a sweeping lens?
Yeah, I mean,
I think so.
I do think
Kennen should do that.
it's a good choice because he needs to know where it's warded, but at the same time, it took too long for him to get to depth cap. He should have told his team, "Yo guys, I need to get all the farm. This is the item we're waiting for, so let me get everything, right?" So he should be looking for a flank at that point. Right now, as long as they can stall the towers from falling down, it's okay from them. I guess that's why he's not walking around, because they feel like they can hold that tower, and they're backing off now.
Yeah, Flash Wolves are playing so patiently here, not willing to give up a single fight. They know Impact has the potential to just obliterate their backline. I mean, if Flash Wolves don't overstep here, when is the next opportunity for Cloud9 to actually get one of those fights?
They just have to wait for Flash Wolves to mess up. Obviously, they need to be looking at, they need to get the Impact flank, maybe the Meteor's kick. It's the same story as before, but the more the game goes on, I feel like Flash Wolves is kind of not wanting to risk anything could cost them the game. They have Elder Dragon and they have Baron, and they didn't really push any lead with it. They just tried to poke C9 down and get the 3 objectives. And when you've been playing that way the entire game, it's really hard to change your playstyle from being like, okay guys, we actually need to win a fight to end this game, because no matter what, you're gonna have to win a team fight to win the game. It doesn't matter how well you've played up until this point. It's now you need to actually win a fight, not just poke them away. And that's gonna be the struggles of Flash Wolves. So.
And of course, Media's losing his flash in an instant. We talked about how crucial that is for him to make the big kick flash kind of plays. But I want to take a chance to look at the itemization coming in from Maple. We do have the Death's Dance as a final item. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
I saw this the other day where it was a Caulfield's Warhammer really early on for Everis for more cooldown reduction, and then he eventually got Death's Dance. I think it's pretty good for him. I think it's going to keep him alive. As opposed to a Bloodthirster, this will actually stack up on physical damage dealt. So as he pokes with Q, if he got chunked out or anything like that, he can still get HP back.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad item by any means, but I have seen some people like to go for rapid fire cannon. Because if you go for rapid fire cannon on Varus, he can attack the tower kind of in front of Caitlyn and just give it an auto attack every single minion wave when you're slowly getting it. The same thing in teamfight, you're a bit safer. You can follow up a bit easier if you have that one extra hit. So it gives less damage, but it might actually be better for sieging down the tower. And then he can always trade it out if the tower eventually goes down or something like that. And we also saw Impact lose his flash, which is huge for him in the teamfight. That's really what he should be looking out for. He needs his flash up to actually destroy Flash Wolves in a team fight. So every single time Flash Wolves does this, they're a bit safer every time they siege, and it's very, very good for them.
With Meteo's flash down as well as the Kennen flash down, is this the opportunity for Flash Wolves to force that fight you're talking about to just win the game?
They can look for it, but
Can't force too hard though.
it's very hard for them to force just because of the comp. They can hit Elise Cocoon or something, but this is when Sneaky can actually walk up. He has all his items, and he's gonna look to obviously carry this game now. He needs to be the one walking up and forcing Flash Wolves away from the tower with the Karma Shields and with the Orianna Ball. So I really want to see Jensen and Smoothie combo up with Sneaky and just force Sneaky away, because if he has the shield, he's never gonna get low, and he can always keep them away. So every time here you see that he is basically alone when he's protecting against Israel and Varus, and he just
Jensen
can't
walked too
hold
far
it.
forward.
Oh, that's not where you want to be. They are going to back off though.
Yeah,
Don't
they
wanna give
tried
that
to
flank.
force the fight for while they know Israel and Varus is
now you're gonna
bot.
lose bottom turret.
So yeah, right now they're just not getting what they really want. I think C9 is not playing aggressive enough for this to work out really well for them. And Jensen is just gonna go trying to hold everywhere. And the same thing, Impact is not gonna do a lot if he's not coming from a flank, or if he can't get onto a Flash Force. So
I feel like if Smoothie ever gets the Talisman of Ascension, it's actually a big spike for the team. If they could ever engage in that way. I haven't seen a mantra inspire and everybody runs forward with the Karma Shield on them.
okay. So
But you would love it.
the pressure is a bit relieved now because Baron is gonna spawn, and if C9 gets this Baron, I actually think they have a pretty good shot at getting the game. Let's see. They take less and less damage because
It's actually really good for C9.
C9 did use the Mikhails, so they're a bit less safe, even though they have the QSS in the clans.
Yeah, but NMD ulti, Maple ulti, NL ulti, Sword Art ulti, and then they have all of theirs except for Sneakies.
The good thing is that NL and Maple, they have really low cooldown on their ultis. It's like 40-50 seconds on the Varus ulti, and then Ezreal just spam Q and get your ulti back up really fast. Now my ultimate is almost up again.
Yeah, but if you're able to actually get a turret off of that and like force something, then it'll be all right. I actually thought they were going to go occupy the Baron pit during that time, but they decided to go down mid instead.
Well, yeah, and we're 50 minutes into this game, and the 7K gold lead is going to mean less and less, and that advantage of the additional Fernal Drake on the Cloud9 side is going to mean more as we start to approach that 6 item point for Jensen and as well as Impact.
Yeah, and then it just comes down to composition and execution. Right.
I think that C9's is easier to execute at this point because I really think they should just look to make Caitlyn unkillable, because she can kill everyone on flash balls and she basically cannot die. So if they just protect Sneaky whenever he needs to walk up, then it's really good. Like, you see, stuff like that. If Jensen has his ball on Sneaky and Karma just shields every time Mabel shoots an arrow, Sneaky will not lose any HP, and he will just be there and he can trade back. If he does get low, then he needs to back away and then sustain, and then he can run up again. And that's a huge issue, and that's why Varus doesn't really fall off versus his team composition. Like,
one of the big issues as well, as we look for this, so often you can get Mortal Reminder to mitigate the healing of champions, but that's not something that affects shielding. So if the shields keep coming, there's actually nothing they can do to make those shields any smaller to stop the constant reinforcement of that life bar for Sneaky.
That's why I would have liked a Mortal Reminder to reduce the healing that Sneaky can't put out. Like, if he does get hit, it should be much harder for him than it is to like really sustain back up. But they elected to do otherwise. So especially since they only have at least 10 tank on C9. So.
Yeah, not many people with more HP than him. Yeah, there's only 30 seconds left on Impact's flash, so I think that's what Cloud9 are waiting for right now. Kind of stalling until that point.
Yeah, I would like to see Flashballs actually force something while like these flashes are down from C9, because I don't think like everyone right now has finished the items. Impact has like full items. Jensen has full items. Sneaky has full items. It's like, okay, you want to wait for the support to finish the 6th item too or something like that. You mean it's pretty close for Sword Art. He's always sitting on a Kendall gem. So.
Yeah, no more pinks for him.
Yeah.
Matt talked about this the other day. Always have slots for pinks, he said, but I guess if you're waiting for that one final team fight, that's bad.
That was the money right there.
Could be bad. Impact running for his life.
Yeah. I think
they can get Impact's flash.
He's saving it.
I feel like you flash counter engage there, because all 5 of them just jumped up. I don't know. I feel like that was an opportunity there for Impact.
Meteos is on the backside. We're kind of waiting with bated breath here because one fight will decide this game. Meteos.
This is like,
he got his flash again.
Yeah. This is gonna be really close. I think for Mabel and for NL, they need to be looking to get poke onto Jensen. They need to poke Impact, maybe poke Smoothie down. Like, they need to poke the targets they can. Caitlyn at this point is okay to poke, but it's actually not gonna do anything because she's just gonna sustain back up. So poking Caitlyn in favor of other champions is actually not good.
Oh no.
Oh, Meteos.
Not quite.
They use Mikhails here.
Use the kick as well. So flash kick down for Meteos. Maybe Flash Wolves will opt to start the fight, but Impact, of course, still with the flash, still with the ultimate. Jensen as well. We could look for that wombo combo kind of scenario. But Cloud9 are just playing so scared here.
I wonder if this is going to get to the point where one of them gets frustrated and tries to engage, like an Orianna self-ulti flash. I mean, oh yeah, they're all on the side of the pit. I think like,
this is pretty risky.
Yeah, it's super risky.
They know Meteos is not close, so they're probably gonna back away from this.
Have to be careful.
Oh no!
Actually finished it. Jeez. I mean, now it's just gonna be stalling for Cloud9. Wait for Shockwave to be back up, and then they can maybe do something.
I mean, do you even think that they can stall? There's 2 open inhibitors, the Baron buff now.
I do think they can stall because Sneaky can walk up and actually attack. So it depends on how they play it out.
Where's he going? Jensen's going for blue, and then Sneaky is just clearing out a camp. You don't need gold, Sneaky. You have 3,000. You literally need no gold.
Trying to catch Sword Art. Carson trying to catch Smoothie.
Oh, Smoothie.
Got caught out.
Oh. One shot, one kill, Maple. The
I
LMS
actually like
sniper.
how Flash Wolves has been playing this. They've
Yeah.
just never been too impatient, and they're always just like poking away, know what they're doing.
Yeah, Flash was been playing this immaculately, honestly. It's been a really good game for them, but it can get cracked in just a second.
Yeah, I mean, it's still up to, it's kind of up to Impact. You haven't really seen him do anything except for like just killing the Rumble and like winning his lane really hard.
Yeah,
Besides
that's
that,
happened
he
for
actually
20
hasn't
minutes.
really done anything.
This is not quite where Cloud9 wanted to be as we see Meteos now set to fall. They're going to be able to pick up the GA2. Jensen, however, is on the way.
Nope.
No.
I'm not sure if he just really wanted the Grump or if he was actually going for TP Wars, because I think the Meteos was going for TP Wars so they can have one final fight with Impact. The problem for that one final fight would be that it's like if they lose the fight, they're gonna get the Nexus destroyed, and if they win the fight, they're kind of just back into the game. I don't think they can actually finish.
Well, I think death timers right now are like 65 seconds.
Yeah, but two
Pretty
inhibitors
insane.
are down, so it's really
Yeah.
hard to actually finish. Especially because the fight, like there might be a few kills. If all of C9 survives, maybe they could finish, but
Yeah, it depends on where the fight
Yeah.
happens too.
they really just, like right now,
Oh,
Flash
man.
Wolves is gonna wait for the super minions to kind of go into the Nexus towers, and then they can get the last tower for free, kind of.
Yeah, this
So
is
they're
just-
probably gonna avoid fighting. Oh, Jensen got poked. They might just walk up and take it this wave. I think they're...
Yeah, it needs like 1 or 2 shots. It's got nothing left
Yeah.
on it.
There we go.
Interesting spot to be. Oh, Impact still trying to make a play. He might be able
Why
to get
is Sword Art there?
Because he's having the minions get barriened up, so they actually push faster.
Okay, okay, I can
And
see that.
it actually makes sense because Sword Art is not worth killing, and it's still gonna take a long time for him to kill.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
maybe
get
not. Not
Sword
if he
Art.
Yeah, they use Shockwave on him.
Yeah, that was being way too far.
Impact behind.
Oh, did
He
he
can't,
trouble?
he can't get Maple. There we
there
go.
you go.
Finally, finally.
get destroyed, right? If
Yeah.
he actually gets the engage, Maple gets
MMD.
destroyed. There's nothing
Yeah.
he can do.
Now it's a 60-minute game. NL trying to run for his life. We'll have to see if he can pull out the 1v1 or the 2v1 as Karsa
Ooh,
shows up.
Taking the...
This should be Dragon. They'll clear out their base, but they might get Dragon here if you're Cloud9.
yeah, they're gonna go for the dragon. Someone is gonna push down mid, and maybe they're gonna go for the inhibitor, depending on how they do.
You can hear the crowd
50
there.
seconds.
And this is what Flash Wolves should have been avoiding. They're just trying to, like they got too greedy to actually end the game early, and they have been so good at just stalling it out, not being too greedy, poking C9 down repeatedly. Then they walk up and basically just, I mean, kind of suicide. They're not watching for TPs.
Yeah, those may
Like-
have been some of the last flashes of the game too, because
Yeah.
you're like 1 hour and 1 minute until you have Impacts back, until you have Maples back.
The good thing about this is that Jensen and Sneaky still have their flashes. He just has his flash, so he can play really aggressive.
Oh, that's actually good though. I think that's fine.
It's
You
a
chunked him
good
out.
try. If you get the kill, you can almost
NL
end
ult,
the
NL
game.
ult, NL ult.
Okay, okay.
So
Yeah, they had a ward
That's
C.
gonna be stalling till the inhibitors are back up, and then C9 is just gonna run it down mid, probably.
Yeah, you can't actually fight them right now. Like team fighting comp with Elder, and the fact that they have 2 Infernals on top of it, like
And of course, no longer having the flash advantage as well, so it's much
Yeah.
easier for Impact
Yeah.
to make his way into the backside. That proto belt combined with the speed ups there.
yeah, that's a big thing. Is like we talk about how Kennen needs flash to make these engages. He doesn't need it if the other team doesn't have flashes. So it's much easier for him to actually get in there.
Yeah.
And with Meteos with his kick flash, like if Meteos kick flashes Maple in this next fight, like all you have to do is Lee Sin. I feel like that's your only job is if you can kill Maple. You don't have to kill NL. You don't have to kill MMD. Just kill Maple.
Is there
You
any
can do
Twitter
it.
questions right now? Because we're gonna have a stalemate until the dragon buff, and like, I mean, seriously, we're gonna wait for Flash Wolves to like get their flashes up. They're gonna get some vision control inside C9, so they know where they're going. So there isn't actually a whole lot of things that's gonna be going on
Yep.
until Cloud9 groups up and actually
Well,
wants to fight again.
We'll see if we can grab some Twitter questions. I do
Yeah.
have a fun fact, though. I wanted to check in on the Varus damage numbers, and of course, this is a few minutes ago, but when I checked in, Varus had 39% of his team's damage at this point in the
that's because
game.
nobody else
That's
is in a
valid.
position to do damage. Like Rumble, you're never in that mid-range area to actually have him do damage. He stopped getting any type of fight that he would want to take towards Impact. Like Impact will beat him. So yeah, the only person who even gets to do damage. Maple's actually probably done more since then.
I believe it. Maybe have moved up in the percentage there overall. Jensen was at a 27%, but as you said,
Yeah.
not in a position to really do damage in the majority of these fights, although he has had, pretty close calls with those potential solo kills on NL.
I'm glad we have Frog in here for all the late game strats. Like
Dude, this
your type of
game
game?
is a struggle. It's like, oh, why are they never fighting? This is so boring. It's like, it's all about vision. If you get picked off, like, the game is over.
Really?
See,
you of all people are telling me this is boring?
Yeah.
Froggen, this is what you've done to us. This is the type of game we have to cast.
Fun fact, did you guys know that I have once, like, won a game being 0 kills and the enemy had 2 kills and it was against Fnatic?
Yeah, I remember that. That was the lowest kills that anybody's ever had in a
All right, well,
victory.
there's a team fight, so let's focus back in. The fun facts are wonderful, gentlemen, but despite the stalemate that we're expecting, it does look like teams are still trying to find a way in.
Yeah, inhibitors come back up. Baron comes back up in a minute. Karsa's going to have to find something and go back. But
yeah.
How long on Impact's flash? Because I feel like that's what they wait for is that time race. 82 seconds? Ugh.
I mean,
honestly, this is the point where those Ionian Boots of Lucidity come in pretty handy. Those reduced summoner spell cooldowns. It is a minor thing, but minor things are kind of the big deciding factor in these fights.
Yeah, every time I've played Kennen, though, it's like Sork shoes or bust. Like, if you're going for the Ionian Boots of Lucidity, you're kind of a utility bot, and you don't do as much damage for sure. And killing the AD carry or the mid laner is your main goal. I understand that like
it's a
getting
lot
in
more
there faster
utility
is better,
than
but
frequently not killing
yeah,
the AD carry.
It's kind of strange, but I feel like Sork shoes just feel so good.
this is also interesting from Flash Balls because they have a lot of wards towards the bot side of the map. Oh, actually, they're all timed out. Never mind. But yeah, they're gonna look to just ward up and then try to poke C9 out, and if they can successfully poke them out, they're gonna, they're just
gonna try to do Baron. Impact is on the way.
Why are they always doing this over the wall? I feel like
6K?
Are
They're
C9
just
afraid of
trying
the
to
approach?
Impact's gonna need to flash in there if they want to get anything. Are they gonna get it? Yes! That is a steal coming in from Jensen. That's a massive
He did
turning
use
point.
his ultimate though. He did use his ultimate.
Yeah, Impact would have to
And
counter
the
engage.
shields are down.
This is the fight. Meteos is trying to run for his life.
Oh
Impact
boy.
still has flash. He still has ultimate. He's just going to use that empowered recall. Cocoon does not connect.
This is kind of good for C9 if they do not lose all 3 of their inhibitors. So if they lose all 3, it's going to be stalemate again. So it is.
Someone just stole a
This
Baron
is how
Froggen.
it works.
Cheer up, man.
This is how it
We
works,
just
man.
witnessed
Next time-
NA Hope come back to
Next
life.
hour-long Echo
No,
Fox game.
they can come back, but it's still gonna be just stalled out. Like, if they do not successfully get any of the inhibitors, we will actually see something happen that could potentially end the game.
Well, we're starting to double up on the average game time here.
Also, Sneaky and Jensen used both the summoners. Meteos used the summoners, so it's all up to Impact to get that TP behind them. And they do have this one ward at the walls. So let's see if Flash Wolves are impatient, if they're getting hungry, anything like that.
It's so hard to push in on a Caitlyn too now.
Yep.
I mean,
It's almost impossible when you just stack up shields onto Caitlyn, and she can't die because of her sustain.
Yeah, if C9 take a fight right now, they probably win the game off that top wave. And so MMD has to go clear that.
C9 has a very, very good chance of actually ending this game without much happening. Just because they have Caitlyn that can walk up to the tower and take it extremely easy, and she has Baron buff. Like, it's very unlikely that she's actually going to die unless they can stack a lot of CC and Rumble ultimate on top of her.
Yeah, they get the turret. NL actually was doing red buff at the time, had to pick it up. Meteos?
where's the point in the game where
is just kind of running around.
Yeah.
gold
Sorry,
doesn't
okay.
matter?
Okay, so now you have to find a way to safely actually do damage to this turret, and that's the struggle here.
Now it's the other way around. Now Flash Wolves has to stall the Baron buff and make sure that none of them die, they don't do anything unnecessary, and that's really difficult for them to actually do.
Yeah.
I would have loved for Smoothie to just go AP in this game so he can shield Caitlyn even more, but
I mean, he may have the gold soon enough to shift builds entirely as both teams approach the 110K mark.
he is gonna go for Ardent Sensor next because he already has his Forbidden Idol, which is okay, but since you he does have 2 Infernal Dragons, so just straight up getting Death Cap would actually be pretty beneficial for him. And Jensen has 1,044 AP.
Also, the Ardent Sensor passive is now shared with the Mikhail's Crucible one, so you actually don't stack the heals and shield power passive because it's unique.
But you will get the bonus damage
believe.
for Sneaky, but how impactful really is the 30 bonus damage on there?
I mean, you could argue it at this point, it might not do too much. And if it's magic damage, it's not like either Karma or Sneaky has any magic penetration, so I don't know how it's applied, but it's obviously going to be reduced onto these targets that has magic resistance. So
We're at an interesting
Is it
point.
not?
Huh? No,
It is
sorry. I
gonna-
was
yeah.
thinking for myself, like, is it the, I think Athene's has something like that too, where it's like increased shields and heals. And anyway, it's been a while
Increased
since
shields
I've
and heals,
dabbled in
blood
support.
charges. It gives you actual
Yeah,
healing as well.
Look at this. Meteos is basically unkillable
Finally.
while being 0 for 1. That feels amazing.
I know.
That's-
After nothing all game.
That's the problem, because right now if he also just runs at the Blood Wolves, it's hard for them to do anything, because they're like, we don't want to auto-attack, we can get flash kicked or something. Right now they should know he doesn't have flash, but it's just all the pressure C9 basically has.
Jensen should be putting, or sorry, Sneaky should be putting some more traps down.
Yeah,
in this area.
right now you see Jensen walk really far. I would like for Sneaky to walk that far up and Jensen play a bit more in the back, because Sneaky does have the sustain and Jensen does not. So if Jensen does get poked, it's actually really bad. Whereas now, you see, just keep that ball on him and let him walk up. He's gonna sustain back up now, obviously, but besides that, just keep the ball on him. Let him walk up and he can take everything by himself.
Wow. And it's a free clear for the top side of the map too, and they don't continue to push or anything like that.
All right, well, I have a Twitter question, guys. I know you asked, Frog, and asked and you shall receive at RDG_Amazonite. I'm going to totally butcher that. I apologize. How do you deal with such a long game, both as a caster and as a player? So let's start with you, Frog. And as a player, what is your mentality coming into a long game like this?
I haven't tried anything but this, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. But I mean, it's actually not that. It's actually not that.
What the?
Yeah, he sold his item,
it's
bought
time.
it, and then he resold it.
You gentlemen have never been to Well, I can say never been to EU. I've been to EU for 6 months. Frog, and you've been there. But
That's amazing.
The things you've missed recently, last time we had an 80-minute game in EU, 5 ZZ Rod portals came out.
That's
crap.
dirty. Yeah, it's the ZZ Rob buy it.
But okay, so
Sell
how you
it.
deal with late game is knowing like what you're capable of doing, what you should be doing, and what you should not be doing. There's these things you should absolutely not be doing, and it actually doesn't matter too much if you're not doing anything at all. Because late game, if you're not doing anything, just stay at your tower. You don't have to do anything. Everyone is at full items. Who cares the crap if they take the entire jungle? They're doing nothing with it. Like, it's just some extra gold. Like, obviously the buffs are very important, but it is not like. You can just wait at your tower and wait for them to make a mistake. That's how it is most of the time. Whoever makes the first mistake is going to lose the game.
And I feel like Impact should have a sweeper right now. Like, that's been a problem the whole game, is because Meteos sits on that trinket for more ward hops. It's like, should have another sweeper here. It's one of the reasons that they haven't been able to actually catch anybody or start any fights, because they're always afraid of the vision. And I feel like you should make the other team afraid of your vision. It's gonna be ridiculous.
Wow, we got a new world record in CS.
Ah, new world. It's a
Congratulations.
world's CS record, so just
New
for the world's
worlds.
tournament.
All
We are
right.
following the script. I am casting right now. It feels good.
He
Has
breaks your
Impact in
record.
some way.
Are you cursed? Is this your curse?
If Froggen is
Man,
involved
it
in the
might
game
be pretty
somehow.
boring to watch this, but it is. I mean, you see all these small things happening. Right now, Meteos is behind them, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna look.
He's
to
been there
like
for a long time too.
kick Mabel, you know? It's all about these small mind
Oh.
games.
Oh,
Whoever
there we go,
can do
there we
this.
go.
One kick,
This is
one
awesome.
kick. Oh,
Let's
no.
go.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Cloud9 coming in big. Oh, I think I'm going to be able to get it,
Flash
though.
Wolves needs
You
to
need
fi-
Sneaky up though.
They need. Oh, okay,
Yeah, no,
that's game.
I think they got it.
Yeah. If no one on C9 dies right now, they're gonna win.
Nice trap. Yep.
I told you, it's all
Cloud9.
about making that one mistake. Right now, if Flash Wolves just walked up mid and walk into an area they have no vision of, and you know C9 has vision. Okay, so what Flash Wolves should have done, walk down mid. Literally, walk down mid, take 3 in-hits. If C9 gets the Elder Dragon, it does not matter at all. They're not in position to take it. So just take the 3 inhibitors, and then you can back away. If C9 walks in your back, you poke them out as we did before, and then you just like kind of walk away. Or if they really force the fight, you have super creeps coming your way. You have 2 in each lane that's coming, and it's just way easier to end out the game. Now they're like, I'm gonna walk in blind to Elder Dragon, and that's not good at all.
Yeah, and Meteos actually stayed there for so long. I'd actually love the time, how long he was there, because they knew there wasn't any vision, and he's like, I'm just going to plant myself right here at the red buff, and it was a long time. I want to say it's about 45 seconds.
Really good. The entire game, he has like known what he needs to do. So regardless of his score, I would say he is really trying to do his job the best that he can, right? And then it's just like kick Mabel into the team. One time he doesn't see it, and it's game breaking.
We talked about it earlier. He's got one job. You have one job.
Basically, yeah.
That's
And
all
he
you have to do for your
executed
team, and
it.
you will win the game.
That's why C9 is taking this in, regardless of how it went earlier in the game. So that's pretty good. And Impact also got in really well. He did use his flash though, which I'm not sure if he needed to, but it is
Maple flash
it is
the wall.
definitely something you want to just like make sure you win the fight. So
Yeah, it was the kick into the flash from Maple, so Maple had to flash back.
Yep.
So Impact, in order to get over the wall, had to flash to follow. I think he had his Eon, Karma Shield, and I think Smoothie used his Talisman of Ascension to try and rush him in. It was actually really well played there from C9.
So now you're gonna see Jensen is staying more in the back. It's awesome. Sneaky has to walk further up, and then Karma needs to shield. Every single time Jensen walked up, he's gonna get poked down, and it's not gonna be good. He needs to constantly just shield Sneaky, and it's the only job.
Yeah, it's almost like a solo mission where you just buff the AD carry, you give him the shields, he walks up to the turret, maybe hits it once or twice, and then he walks away. Like, even if he gets caught, you should trust that he's going to Mercurial Scimitar, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's totally fine.
If everyone piles onto Sneaky, Jensen's job is to place his ball and ultimate them, so he kind of peels for Sneaky in that sense. So right now, keep the ball onto Sneaky and shield
It's a divided fight, too. So.
Bubble doesn't land on Sneaky to go in.
Oh, that was really good. Sneaky played that so well. Now it's going to be MMD dying. That was a big outplay there from Sneaky.
And Meteos one more time.
Oh, one job!
Exactly where they want to be. C9 cleaning up house here.
He's got one job, and I guess he gets a raise, too. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of damage in the know.
I mean, at this point, it feels like Cloud9 just closed out. What a game.
Yeah, and this is a big game for the entire group, because it's so neck and neck. It's like, oh, who's going to take games off of who here? SKT, IMA. It's like, well, now you know that Flash Wolves, they still have a decent amount of work to do, because Cloud9, man, if you started off 0-2,
I also think it's very risky. Just for this Flash Wolves, it's like, you need, as I said earlier, you need to play one style the entire game. You need to force them away from the objectives and take the objectives, but then you get to this kind of later stages in the game where you need to actually win a fight and really go for a fight, and they hadn't really done that, right? So playing on Worlds, like some of the first games have a bit of jitters, going for a poke comp, and then like not being able to get that last one team fight that could potentially end the game, and then when they finally actually have pressure, then they throw it away by walking up too far. That's a very risky comp for Flash Wolves, and I think they did really well early mid-game, but they definitely have work to do in the later stages.
Yeah, we talked about it immediately in Champions Select, where this is a composition for C9 that's much easier to execute on, and when it gets to that late game, and it gets to that 70 minutes, it's like, all C9 have to do is press their buttons and run at them. And Flash Wolves have to make sure they're fast enough to run away, have to land their skill shot abilities to disengage, and that's the big thing is, like, Kennen runs at you with a gigantic field, Caitlyn just right-clicks, but you have to be able to hit your abilities if you are on the Flash Wolves side, and that's what's a really big problem there, is in those tense team fights, you have a Lee Sin coming from behind and kicking, and it's just really, really rough.
And gentlemen, we were minutes away from setting the record for longest game at
70
Worlds,
minutes.
all Worlds in history. Fnatic OMG still holding the record at about 72 minutes, just short of that. So we were 2 minutes away. If Flash Wolves had held out, we would have been the people to cast the player experience stream for the longest game of all time for Worlds, which is the worst prize, in case you're wondering. But obviously, you know, very well played by Cloud9 to stop the bleeding there, to pull it out in the end, and kind of just, in the end, held on, and it felt like outscaled.
Yeah, it was really strange because we saw at the very end, the equalizer came down from MMD, and they're like, all right, now it's time to engage from Flash Wolves. Like, that's something that should have happened 30 minutes ago.
Yep.
Like, legitimately 30 minutes ago, 40-minute mark when you're sieging their base. Like, even if you're pushing them off and dealing enough damage that they have to back and go get home guards, like, at least you're getting that inhibitor.
I also think it shows that I do think they should have played more aggressive in the early game and like tried to push the advantage a bit more. But even with this slow kind of game, it is okay for them. They just need to know what they need to do in late game, because they try to walk in somewhere without seeing anyone of Cloud9, and they have no more room for pink wards or anything like that, so they can't really clean out vision that well. So sometimes it's better just like, I would really have liked Flash Wolves to have a plan of to be like, just push down mid and force C9 to show. Wherever they show, we just run the other way. We have the Nami wave. We're gonna be faster. We just throw it down on them, and they can't really do much. Just walk somewhere that C9 is not. And then later on in the game, it's like, they died because they wanted to contest Elder Dragon. If they walked down mid, took 3 inhibitors, they would have forced Cloud9 to like not take the Elder Dragon, but to actually move with Flash Wolves, and that would have forced Cloud9 out of the Elder Dragon pit. So it's just different aspects of how you can play the game and like kind of take the pressure back if you don't have the pressure and stuff like that.
So it was a mid-lane stream originally.
Yeah, turned
and
into
then became the late game stream.
Definitely the late game stream. But that's enough for us. Thanks for tuning into our coverage of the mid lane matchup. Next on the Player Experience stream, we're going to queue up in this lane again and feature a focus. We're going to e-stock a little bit on the mid lane legend FLICKR. For now, though, let's send it back to the mainstream where an interview with C9's Jensen is already in progress. We'll see you back here on the other side.
But we definitely have a lot of stuff to work on.
I think that's a good takeaway, a lot of stuff to work on. Tell me about the decision-making and the calls in that game. Meteos had a rough early game, but then he makes a couple of insanely important cues at the end of the game. So how did you guys kind of try to keep the morale high?
I think the morale was fine throughout the game. There wasn't really an issue with it. I think they were just pressuring us a lot, and we didn't really know how to like deal with it, I guess. And then in the end, we started using the Lee Sin to flank more, and it worked out very well, and yeah. We did it.
You guys did it indeed. So let's take a step back and look at the whole group now. Yesterday you had that game versus SKT, who a lot of people thought that might be closer. Do you think you have underperformed there and can improve, or what's going on with C9 now?
I think mistake was just giving FLICKR Syndra. I didn't actually expect them to take it first pick, so it kind of threw us off. Yeah, I think Syndra right now is just a really strong champion, and if you give them Elise and Syndra together, it's very hard to like do stuff mid lane. So I was just under pressure the whole game, and he played it very well. I don't think we are too sad about the loss. Like, we realized what went wrong, and moving forward, I think we can bounce back.
Okay, so what will be the key for C9 for getting out to this group and into quarterfinals?
Body by Jensen, yeah.
There we go, bodied by Jensen, and they make it to the quarterfinals. We'll see if that happens. Well, thank you very much. Congratulations, C9 pull out the win.
Thank you very much, Shocks. I'm glad we had that interview because it gave us a moment to breathe here on the desk. But before we try and make sense of this game that was balancing on a knife's edge for an eternity, let's go ahead and take a look at the last couple plays that brought home the victory for Cloud9 here, ultimately.
This honestly is all about Meteos, the guy who had a very average first 40 minutes, but when the game is extended this long, we know about Lee Sin's playmaking potential. This champion has come back just for Worlds, and I think we're all the benefactor. The crowd, everyone enjoys a good Lee Sin game. I don't know if we got one of those, but damn if we got two great highlights right at the end.
The secret agent mission there from Meteos paying off. Gets into the back line and gets the priority target.
Gets a follow-up mission on this fight as well, because he comes out of nowhere. First of all, the TP coming in from Impact pulls Flash Wolves all the way back away from the fight. That leaves MMD pretty much dead in the water. Meteos out of the base of Flash Wolves just comes in, gets the kick, sets Cloud9 up, and that was the game.
You kind of have to pull back a bit, Dash, because obviously we're seeing flashy big plays. That's what a champion like Lee Sin does, but that's not what we saw from Flash Wolves. 2 games in a row, this team has basically been the worst salesmen possible. They cannot close games. They open them up very well, but they don't draft engage. They go for these poke comps. They take the minimum, and then after that, they just don't really find a way to close a game. And if you extend it this long, one team fight can decide it. IMA and now C9 have found that out.
And Kobe, I think that's where we have to return to the story of these teams and the group coming into this game. Both had taken losses yesterday, so the importance of not going down 0-2 and being able to persevere in a situation like this.
Right, the huge story here is how much of an endurance test this game was. We can only imagine the emotions that are flowing through these teams that have lost their first game on the world stage, don't want to throw against this constant back and forth in the late game. I mean, most League of Legends players have been in a situation where the game goes that long, but on the stage with this many people watching you, it's just incredible.
And with the noise that was being created in this crowd, so I had to just jump in and recognize that, because I can only imagine that, I mean, feeling the vibrations on stage adds to that. If I screw up, any moment could be the end of the game.
Insane amount of noise in the crowd. I do want to kind of temper things looking at a holistic view comparative to some of the other teams that we're seeing here at Worlds. A lot of the mistakes coming from Flash Wolves and the reservations coming out from C9 as well are self-implicated. A lot of them coming from the draft from Cloud9. When you look at their priority coming out of the jungle, Flash Wolves with a very slow playstyle, which is making both of these teams look very beatable. And that's a little scary as we go through. Now we're a quarter of the way through the tournament for some of these teams.
And just building on that point, the best teams in the world are methodical and they're clutch. We had methodical play from Flash Wolves 2 games in a row. didn't manage to close it out. We saw clutch play from C9. That took out the game, but you need both to go far at Worlds. And there's still 4 games, I guess, for these guys to catch up and find that kind of 2-punch way to move forward.
But the one player that did kind of play consistently for Cloud9 was Impact, and he'll be receiving player of the game here. We saw him, being able to build that CS lead in the top, a couple solo kills to keep them in the game as long as they did.
The pressure Impact had, sorry, Kobe, to cut you off, even earlier on in the game, just the threat of the TPs, his lead was just significant. That's one of the reasons why he's got it.
Yeah, if you just go all the way back to Champion Select.
Seems like a long time ago.
Exactly. The way they drafted, it relies so much on Impact to get to this back line. Impact and Meteos, the 2 playmakers, the only ones with possibility of making plays, right? And it has to come from these flanks, and they have to have their flashes available. So we're constantly waiting for flash cooldowns to come back up and proto belts, and so much pressure on those 2.
All right, well, go take a breath, because we need to take a breath. There's still plenty of more Worlds 2016 group stage on the card. When we return, the reigning world champions, SKT, take on the LPL's IMA. So don't touch that browser.
As we load up onto the Rift, FLICKR versus Cloud9. Look for the cocoon, it connects! Impact will go down! First blood for Karsa. Here is the play, teleport, Sneaky's caught, he gets equalized. 米蛋太神啦！
Do Cloud9 go for it?
Meteos is in the pit, Meteos is behind Baron, gets caught, the shockwave, it's secured by Jensen!
Look at Bears. I make kills. Hey, I make kills, yeah. I have a trap on. Release that. Go end.
Cloud9, they don't give up, they don't surrender, and they take down Flash Wolves!